Hi, and welcome to another conversation of the all new Ttown 411 report and our community conversation. We're broadcasting live from the studio of the Ttown 411 report, and we're broadcasting live on Sound Booth Radio 106.1 with my good friend Mike Wilson, along with my very good friend Veronica Taylor. Mike, tell them how can they chime in on Sound Booth Radio and Sound Booth Radio and TV.
Sure thing, Daryl. Check us out on the radio site of Soundproof Radio. Just go to your iOS or your Google Play Store, download the Live 365 app. Once you download Sound Radio 106.1, that'll get you on with us on the radio side of Soundproof Radio. And check us out on the video side. Just go to Facebook Live, Facebook, or YouTube and type in Sound Booth Radio 1061. They'll get you on with us on the video side of Sound Booth Radio.
Well, we also have our good friend Miss Veronica Taylor on with us, who gives us all the health updates on COVID and the flu and monkeypox. Veronica, how you doing?
Hello there, how are you? I'm doing good.
Good, good. Give us an update on what's going on in our health world.
Okay, as far as our COVID-19 update, the latest trends for the New York Times, it reads about the same as it did last week. So they're still reporting once a week. And as far as Alabama goes, there were 1,306 cases that were reported. So I don't think that they've quite updated it yet because that was the same as last week. I think they've changed their days to Wednesdays as well as the CDC because I think they're taking the information from the CDC. So right now, as it stands, it's still 1,306 with a deep increase of 24% over the average 2 weeks, and deaths have decreased by 8%. Like I said, the CDC will update tomorrow on January 11th. But right now, as relates to monkeypox, Alabama is still holding steady at 186. And hopefully, when those come out tomorrow, it will be lower. The flu update, as far as the CDC, flu remains high, but the numbers have started to decline. So still, they recommend that anyone 6 months and older go out and get your flu vaccination. Of course, they're recommending the C19 vaccination for the bivariant, the latest vaccination that they have to be better protected against the variants that are out there now. As with anything, if you're going to be in a large crowd of people, a lot of people try and keep your distance 6 feet or more. Wear your mask if you're uncomfortable. Wear your mask if you think that you may encounter, large groups of people. Whatever. Always keep your mask with you. So for those who don't really feel comfortable always wearing a mask, just keep your mask with you. And when it looks like there's going to be a large crowd of people, not even necessarily a large crowd, but in a situation where you can't keep your distance, then you have your mask. Take your mask and put your mask on. So many people are wearing them like beards now. So just if you can't remember to put it in your purse, can't remember to put it wherever in your car, put it on, let it hang down like a beard. So whenever you're where you are, you just grab it and pull it up. Remember to wash your hands. Sneeze in your sleeve, not out and openly. Just protect yourself. Still sanitize. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. As long as it takes someone to sing happy birthday, wash your hands. Sing happy birthday 2 times or twinkle twinkle little star. Wash your hands. Be safe. Take care of yourself, your family, and also take care of other people. Keep your distance. If you know that you have cold or flu-like symptoms, stay home, especially if you have a temp over person thing like it's over 98.6 by mouth. Watch it. Watch your other symptoms. Wear a mask and stay at home. Just protect yourself and others.
Well, we thank you, Veronica, for each and every week for bringing that up. Let me go ahead and do our copyright disclaimer, I guess, every week before we get into our shows. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips to balance its favor of fair use. Um, we've been having this conversation about programs, you know, being kicked off the program or whatever. Also, I want to let people know the opinions expressed in this presentation are my personal opinion and must not be construed as representing the opinion of any institution with which I am or have been affiliated in my professional life, as well as Mike and Veronica. So, in other words, these are our personal opinions. These are not the opinions of any uh, companies or jobs that we work for as of right now. So, I just want to make sure we get that out there. Mike, are we on? I see Jay Graham has checked in. He said hello. I want to say hello to you also. Thank you for checking in with us tonight on the
Yeah,
program.
we own.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
we broadcasting right now.
okay. I just want to make sure I'm on my phone, so I'm not able to double check it since I didn't have my iPad tonight. But tonight's conversation is about should the 6-year old be charged for shooting the school teacher? And we're going to go into more details about that particular incident shortly. And should the parents be charged? And what more can be done? You know, we talk about this all the time. These new gun laws and all these extras. So we're gonna talk. That's our conversation for tonight. One thing I did want to bring up to everybody for 2023, we're gonna try to keep the show to an hour and a half, the most. And so that's going to be the limitations. If we need to extend, we'll extend sometime if it get too. But right now, I think an hour and a half. I did have some people say it got too long sometime. And, I think keeping it to an hour 15 to an hour and 30 is long enough for me. And so we'll try to do that this year to keep people attracted to the show. Let's see. Do we need to take a commercial break? I don't think so. I'm good. Mike, you good? Any
I'm
announce
good.
any announcements? Anything going on? I know you had posted something about I think a mentoring program that's going to be taking place with Joe Eatman or something.
Well, yes, and actually the YCL is going to be helping out with that as well. There's a basketball camp that they're putting together right now. Right now we have, I think, 300 openings that are for a basketball camp going on for the Tuscaloosa city and county schools, ages, I think it's 13 to 15, if I'm not mistaken. And the registration form is online. I thought, did I send it to you there? I don't know if I sent it to you or not.
I'm not
But
sure. I saw something, but I don't have it
okay,
right. I don't have it right now. But yes.
yeah, we and there's a registration where you can sign your kids up to play in basketball tournament, to play in the basketball camp. Um, Hopefully we'll get Coach to call in. I talked to him earlier today. Said he was going to probably try to call in and tell us a little bit more about it. Um, the kids will be playing basketball. I want to say Friday night or Saturday night. So one of the two. It's just something that we trying to put together to keep our kids preoccupied and busy, so they have something to do other than just roam the streets. We're trying to catch them young and get them ready. We're looking for coaches and mentors for all these young students, both men and female.
Mike, your number correctly 205-310-6067, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure scrolling on the right one. Or they can call 205-826-7661. That'll get you in contact with us here on the program. Um, if you'd like to join our conversation tonight.
Also, before we get too far ahead, I also want to say that the Education Christian Academy has opened up at Greater Faith down in Moundville. And there's waiting lists for the toddlers right now, but if you're interested in having your kids, or if you're interested in the Christian Academy, just get in touch with Greater Faith, and you can check it out. You don't have to be a member of Greater Faith to attend the Christian Academy.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing. I see that Bishop Evans and all the Greater Faith family is moving forward with what they said they was going to do. So that's a good thing. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Any announcements on your part, Veronica? It's like I said, it'd be so much going on. Sometimes I can't get a hold of everything.
No, none that I've been made aware of. Well, you do know we haven't. I forgot the MLK celebration, which I think may start Friday. I haven't had a chance to actually see when they all start, but the parade is on Monday. And then there's the rally at the church. In fact, let me look and see because I know Paula has that flyer. So they have the breakfast at Beulah Baptist Church as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think at 7 o'clock. I want to make sure before I say which day. I think it's that Monday morning, and then the parade is. Hold on, I'm trying to go to my phone and pull it up. But you guys can go to something else. While it doesn't take me maybe 60 seconds. Pull this up because I know Paula has it up. I don't want to be wrong on the times.
Okay.
Paula is a busy woman. I forgot. Paula has a lot of stuff up.
Yes,
I'm
you do.
looking. Yeah, she has a lot of stuff up, so I'm looking to see. But I should have it in a second. The full list of and I'm still doing. Okay, on January 16th, presented by the Cisco Celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day, January 16th, 2023, is presented by the SELC, Pastor James Williams, President. There's the annual breakfast at 7 a.m. at Beulah Baptist Church, 3110, well, not 3110, 3100 25th Street, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The annual breakfast is at 7 a.m. at Beulah Baptist Church, 3100 25th Street, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. 12 noon is lineup for the MLK March. MLK Elementary School is this place for lineup. 2430 Martin Luther King Boulevard, Tuscaloosa, Alabama 35401. And at 6 p.m. at First African Baptist Church at 2621 Stillman Boulevard is where they will have the rally.
Okay.
So you have the annual breakfast at 7, Beulah Baptist Church. The march at noon, line up at MLK Elementary, and at 6 p.m., the rally, which is at First African Baptist Church.
Gotcha. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I'm trying to see if I got that. I don't have it on my. I hadn't got it. I have it for Thursday though. I'll be able
Okay,
to pull it from.
I'll send it that flyer.
Okay. Okay. That'll be
Okay.
great. That'll help out. Tell you what, I see. Oh, don't forget the upcoming event that's going to take place. A miracle for miracle. uh, this is a benefit program that's going to take place hosting recording artist, gospel artist Dottie Peoples. That's going to take place on January the 28th, if I'm correct. Let me see. And it's gonna be at First African Baptist Church here in Tuscaloosa. So I think tickets are selling, and they might be pretty close to sold out. I'm not sure. I was gonna get um, the pastor to come on with us and that's hosting the event and give us more information about it. But that event is going to take place. What day it is? Okay.
Okay, and I just sent the flyer Daryl.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be at First African Baptist Church at 3 p.m. The doors open at 2 and the event is at 3 p.m. Tickets are $25. You can get those tickets at Rollins Mortuary, Fashion Design, and Alterations. So those are the two locations you can get tickets. They're only $25. It's going to be January 28, 23 at First African Baptist Church. So that should be a great event that's going to take place here in Tuscaloosa. Miss Dottie Peoples. Real soon that's going to take place. So those are the announcements that we have, or that I have. I tell you what, we can take a quick commercial break, and we'll come right back, and we'll get into the conversation.
That sound good?
All right, guys.
Okay.
All right.
Get your event jumping with Caroline Shines and Impulse Band. Impulse Band has been together for over 7 years, and they haven't missed a beat yet. The band has and will play in various venues and doesn't mind traveling to you. Being led by Alabama Blues Hall of Famer herself, Mrs. Caroline Shine. Impulse has opened up for Bobby Rush, L.J. Eccles, Tank, Fantasia, Calvin Richardson, just to name a few. The Impulse Band will surely fit your need for entertainment. Dial 205-887-6859 or 205-887-5026. Or you can just email them at shinesbrightly@yahoo.com. Caroline Shines and Impulse, the band made just for you.
For over 27 years here in Tuscaloosa, Catfish Heaven has been pleasing our taste buds with their delicious catfish, pan trout, hot wings, coleslaw, hush puppies, and don't forget about those made-to-order French fries. Whether it's your snack time, lunchtime, or dinner time, give the guys a call over at Catfish Heaven at 205-752-7222, or you can make your order online at catfishheaventuscaloosa.com. So head on over to Catfish Heaven at 2502 21st Street. See you there.
Okay, we're back. We want to thank everybody for going by our sponsors of the program. Please don't forget to go by and check out some of the sponsors of these programs. Let people know you're very informed about what we're talking about here on the Ttown 411 report, as well as our community conversations here on every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Facebook Live and YouTube channel. Once again, we're talking about, and those of you that hadn't heard or have heard, we're talking about a 6-year-old that shot the school teacher. And I'm just curious of how many people think the young man should be charged, incarcerated, and should the parents be?
I can't hear Daryl.
I can barely hear him. I hear him, but he's in and out.
I'm sorry. I had it a little muted. I'm back now. But the conversation is about the 6-year-old that people have been talking about committed the crime of shooting the school teacher. And what's some of y'all opinion? What direction should we take this? This is setting precedent of a child under 10 that committed a major crime.
Daryl, at young ages, one of the first things that they do is they sell little boys and like little guns. I always sure that he even understood what he was doing. When we start getting into that particular point, it's hard for me to say that you should prosecute a 6-year-old child for doing something like that. Now, should there be some sort of blame upon the parent? Kind of, sort of, because it was a negligent that they didn't have the gun put to the point where that 6-year-old could get to it. I think that was some negligence being showed there, but to prosecute that 6-year-old who definitely don't really understand exactly what he did. He probably was more scared after he made the shot than anything else. So, I mean, that's just my opinion on it.
Well, let me just read some of it. It say the apparently deliberate shooting of a Virginia school teacher by a gun-carrying 6-year-old pupil has shocked many across the United States, causing outrage and horror even in a country long used regular school shooting that are rare elsewhere in the world. Authorities have not described the exact circumstance of the shooting, nor how they believe the boy came to possess the weapon or to whom it belonged. Now that was from 7 days ago, and now the article reads: 6-year-old, 6-year-old who shot teacher took the gun from his mother. Police say. This was from a 1-day-year-old conversation. It says police in Newport News, Virginia, and this is where it happened. Uh, provided details Monday about the shooting of an elementary school teacher allegedly by a 6-year-old student. The shooting, which police say was intentional, took place at Rich Neck Elementary School in Newport News on Friday, January the 6th. The teacher, identified as 25-year-old Abigail Zawarner, was teaching a lesson when the child drew the weapon, police said on the news conference. The teacher took a defensive position, held her hand. Drew said the bullet passed through her hand and entered her chest. She believes she remained hospitalized and reported to be in stable condition. That shot was the only one fired, Drew said. He said there have been no physical fight between teacher and student. The child was using a 9mm Taurus firearm, which Drew described as a handgun. Police said the gun was legally purchased by the child's mother. The child brought the weapon to school in his backpack, but Drew said the firearm was on the child's body, not pulled from the backpack at the time of the shooting. Drew declined to provide information about how the gun was secured in their home. I wish we never had to ask, how does a 6-year-old know how to use a firearm? I don't know that I can give you an adequate answer, Drew said. It's unprecedented that I don't know how to answer that question. We talk about a 6-year-old that's pulled a weapon and used it to shoot somebody. So if you'd like to join the conversation, please call one of the two numbers to join the conversation, 205-310-6067 or 205-826-7661 right here on the Ttown 411 report and our community conversation. Well, I guess some of the questions that we need to ask from the beginning, it's already been identified that the gun belonged to the mother and she lawfully owned the weapon. Do we find the parent to be at fault here? Can you legally say that this parent is at fault for this child pulling the trigger and shooting his school teacher?
I think it's a cause and effect type thing, Daryl. If you're going strictly by, like, if you in the court they say negligence, it was negligent for them to leave the weapon for the child to be able to obtain it. So if that's the case, then yes, that parent would be responsible. For the actual shooting, no, but they negligent just the same. So when you have a firearm and you have small kids in the house, you can't just leave that weapon out for them to get a hold of. It's one thing to teach them about firearms, and I think that you should teach your kids about firearms. Hey, this is something that you shouldn't touch. This is adult things, and it is. They need to know the difference. You have so many toys right now that look just like a real weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And so you probably buy your kids these toys, but they need to know the difference, and they need to know, okay, well, this is mine. This is an adult thing. You don't need to touch it. And then, of course, don't leave it for them to be able to touch. Don't entice a child by leaving it out where they can get to it. A 6-year-old kid is not going to be in the top of your closet or. I don't know where to put it. A lockbox or something to that as a combination box. I understand the premise of having a firearm is for protection in the home and you want to be able to get to it quickly, but you also have young kids, and so you have to kind of weigh those. You got to kind of weigh everything when it comes down to that.
Well, every state has a different law or different answer to that question for us. That goes, even right here in Alabama, you can go to the store with a person and he committed a crime. Well, they go in to commit a crime of robbery, and the store clerk shoots the robber, and you get charged with murder of the person that get killed.
Yeah, it means that there's not an accessory
No.
law here in the state of Alabama.
In this particular case, in this situation, and let me make sure I make people understand. Two friends go to the store to rob a convenience store. One has a weapon. The store clerk ends up shooting and killing the one that had the weapon. Not you, but the one that had the weapon. The friend get charged with the murder of the other robber. That's here in Alabama.
Yeah, and that's not a real old law either.
No. Did I make it clear, Mike? Two friends go to the store to commit a crime, a robbery in the first degree. The one that has the weapon, the store clerk, shoots and kills. I ain't saying the store clerk get charged with murder. I said the other suspect is charged with murder of his friend for participating in that crime of robbery. How's that? This is not very similar, but similar. The mother, in this case, didn't pull the trigger, but it was her weapon. Should she or should she not be charged?
If we were talking about the same type of scenarios what you just explained, Daryl, I would say legally she would be. Um, Although she wasn't there, it, yeah, like I say, it's kind of hard to think about because the child is 6 years old. There's a 6 year old, they barely in school actually. So um, it's hard to just like up and say that both you and the parents supposed to be charged with murder or attempted murder since the teacher is still alive, right?
Yes.
In stable condition. So attempted murder. So uh, it's hard to put that upon both the parent and the child, but at some point, yeah, I think that there is going to be a charge, but they're not going to be able to do anything with the child so much as they are with the mother. I don't even know. Do they put kids in juvenile hall at the age of 6? Is it under 10?
That's a good question.
This young man, Virginia has some laws, and this young man right now is in basically I'll say a healthcare facility because of his age. They have, the Virginia law set the minimum age for criminal defendants as 11. The state juvenile detention facilities have they don't have a minimum. Virginia does not have a minimum for criminal defendants, but the state's juvenile detention facilities there have a minimum age of 11. Well, this little boy's almost half that. He's 6. Mm-hmm. So what they've done is that right now he's getting help. They are concentrating on getting him help, and of course the kids whoever witnessed it and saw it, getting them help. But with him being so young, there is a infancy defense, because basically he's almost an infant. Not quite. We don't age backwards, but he's just a few years away from being an infant, being a toddler. Mm-hmm. So they have the infancy defense. Whereas even though he did it, he knew he took it out, he knew he shoot it, he had the intent to do what he did. He, just like when they say some 14, 15-year-olds, we get outraged when they charge some of them as adults, and some people don't get outraged because they say, well, they were old enough to know better, they're teenagers. So, imagine trying to say a 6-year-old, it's like even the law enforcement is just like, what do we do? You can't, a 6-year-old is not old enough to fully understand. Yes, he understood he was mad. Maybe the teacher felt picked on, whatever it may be. I don't see it though. They said the teacher picked on, but he said he felt some type of way. He went there knowing what he was doing. He aimed at her. He used the gun. He shot her. But they do have an infancy defense in the state. It's a legal doctrine called the infancy defense. So they have to be found competent first to stand trial. Mm-hmm. Which, how do you find a 6-year-old competent to stand trial?
Right.
It can't. How do you find a 6-year-old competent to stand trial? And when you got full grown adults as well going in saying they're not competent to stand trial, so who's going to question the fact that a 6-year-old may not be competent enough to stand trial? They definitely put all this stuff in there about he was combative, things like that. But, I don't know what the personal circumstances is. A lot of people, they put kids on medicine. Sometimes they go to school. If they act a certain way, we've had these conversations before. I just would really like to know what was going on before that day between the child and the student, the parents and the student and the school, if any other complaints had been made, or was it just, maybe she just made him mad for one thing and nobody really knew. Maybe there's been no issues. I would just really want to hear the rest of the details, like if she's been called there a lot, have they had a rocky relationship? And, maybe they have, but then again, maybe they have not. But they do say that he was combative, so they know that he was mad or he understood how to shoot her, and what they understood his intent, I guess, was there. It was intentional that they're saying that, but his mind is not fully developed enough. They say your mind is fully developed until you're 21. Now they say sometimes 25. So, which of course we know better by way before then. But I'm just saying that they don't know. I think they're kind of in limbo what to do with the 6-year-old. So right now he is seeking help. He's in a facility. They had to pursue a child in need of services petition. So I don't know if the mother or parents, I don't know if the father's involved, I don't know if they'll be charged. But I think what may happen, because this child, they're seeking services for this child. I don't know if they're gonna, have their state involved in making sure that things go. You know how they do the DHR thing with the kids and the parents or whatever. The gun was legally purchased by the mother. So I just don't know how they're going to handle it. I don't know if they're going to put her on some kind of thing. I don't know if she's going to get charged or not. I don't know if they're going to send her through some type of program or not. Well, but there's that infancy defense that they have in Virginia.
And you're saying empathy.
You just can't find you. How can you find them competent? They must be found competent. And with that defense, how can a 6-year-old be found competent?
And you're using the word empathy, EMPATHY, correct?
No, infancy, like an infant.
Infancy. Oh, okay.
Infancy, INFANCY, like fancy, but infancy. Defense.
Oh, okay. Is infancy law or?
Well, it says it's a legal doctrine. It's because Virginia doesn't have a law that sets a minimum age for criminal defendants. But they are, I guess, they're considering, or their state has this legal doctrine called the infancy defense.
Okay, I see.
And it states that criminals must be found competent to stand trial. Such a determination would be challenging to make about a 6-year-old.
I mean, I'm almost positive that they're not planning on holding a child responsible for this. It's the question now is, should the parent be responsible?
And they're discussing that. They're discussing that too.
Okay. You have kids. You a police officer. They had a firearm in the house with young kids. you also knew how to secure your firearm, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You would not leave your firearm where a 5, 6, 7, or even a 10-year-old child will be able to get to it, right?
Right.
So, having said that, what do you think? Do you think that the mother was negligent by leaving that firearm to the point where a young person can get to it?
Anything is possible, Mike. And I find people that leave their guns in their cars when they get broken into. I find that person to be negligent.
Absolutely, I do too.
So um, it just so happened her gun was taken without her consent and used. And there are people cars that get broken into. I'm certain that their guns are used in other crimes also, or some of them. So there again, I bring up my point. If we have to have mandatory insurance on our own vehicles to drive, to have the privilege to drive on the city streets in the highways and byways, on our homes, um, why is it not a requirement for gun owners to have insurance to be a little? I think insurance kind of make people a little bit more accountable of their actions when it comes to certain things. In other words, my 12-year-old want to drive my car. I'm not going to let him drive my car, and I know he's not eligible to drive the car. You don't know what I'm saying? But if
Mm-hmm.
he's if he's
Absolutely.
but if he stole the keys to the car, then in the case that something did happen when he stole the keys, then at least my insurance would take care of it, along with the fact that I'm covered from being negligent of the car keys being stolen. So I put gun owners at the same mercy. If we and you'll be more accountable. You'll be making sure that the gun is either locked or put away that no one can get it. Bullets in another room. Not. I don't know if it was an automatic. Well, it said a TARS, but TARS 9
Sorry,
millimeter.
9 millimeter.
Yeah,
That's
TARS 9
automatic,
millimeter.
I
Yeah,
think.
so it'd be an automatic, semi-automatic, and so what we, you know, do you keep the clip in the gun at that point at home? It's a lot of questions to go along with that, but I think we got to get people more accountable of gun ownership, and we continue to create laws that making it less accountable, and that's a
Yeah,
whole.
it's making it easier for everybody to have a gun and not even if you're not qualified. I think that there should be some sort of qualification
Mike,
to have some sort of firearm added on to that insurance thing was a very good idea, Daryl. Everybody who got a firearm don't really need one. They don't take the time to get to know their firearm. They don't get a chance to or take the time to even go to the range to learn how to work their firearm. They just get it. Most of them get it because hey, this looks like it's a bad gun, and for sure. And when it comes down to having to use it, they don't know how to use it. They couldn't get the side of a barn if they needed to.
Mike, you said on many occasions, if a person purchases a weapon before that gun is released to them, that we possibly should let them go through a gun training class.
Absolutely.
So that goes along with the idea of when we get if we get a driver's license, what's the first thing we have to do first? We got to get a permit.
You gotta get a permit. You gotta take the written test
Mm-hmm.
and the driving test.
Mm-hmm.
Those two tests to let them know whether or not you're able to operate a motor vehicle. And generally, you get your permit, and then it's so long in between getting your permit and getting your license. It ain't like you can get your permit and license the same day.
Correct. So what's wrong with that same idea or concept with gun ownership? You're not being denied the right to have a gun. You're just being put in more of a position to be more accountable, more knowledgeable, and more responsible of a gun and ownership. Right here in our very own city, we got a 13-year-old that shot a 15 or 16-year-old. Should the parent be considered charged in that case?
Now, and then when we start getting into the teenage, I don't know. All of this stuff is learned behavior that's been put into to the head that this is the way to go. Um, and it's hard to even say. You don't want to be the one to say yes. You need to hold all the parents responsible because it might be a grandparent who really truly can't control that 13-year-old child.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a mother that can't control a 13-year-old child, but at some point you got to be able to do something. And just like it might be somebody who can't control that 13-year-old child, it also might be a parent that kind of let their 13-year-old child go ahead on and do whatever they want to do. So it's a toss up to me. Like I'm interested in knowing what other people are thinking pertaining to that, because that is, I mean, that was the first murder of the year in Tuscaloosa. That 13-year-old shooting a 16-year-old. That was the first one. And it's a sad occurrence. And then you're talking about a 6-year-old who shot a teacher. And how do you get that mad at 6 years old to want to go and shoot a teacher? Like, I mean, they're saying that this was premeditated. This was like he deliberately went and got the gun. He brought the school in the backpack and removed it from the backpack and then carried it on his person.
Mm-hmm.
And then pointed it and shot the teacher. So,
and well, as far as that parent goes too, they're looking, I guess, at several options because in the state of Virginia, it's a misdemeanor to recklessly have a loaded, unsecured firearm that could cause harm to a child under the age of 14. So they said that they created that statute. It was designed for cases where children harm children. But the victim was 25 years old when they decided to use that statute. But they did develop a law where, it's a misdemeanor. That made it a misdemeanor to have a recklessly loaded handgun, unsecured firearm, not handgun, unsecured firearm, in such a way that it could cause injury to a child. And the fact that that gun could have caused injury to the child himself is another thing they're looking at. So that child caused, and it's supposed to be kind of be a child on child thing, but that child, though he didn't cause injury to a child, when they created that misdemeanor, they were looking at someone who I guess had caused injury to a 25-year-old, and they came up with that. So I'm thinking they're kind of looking at that way, seeing if they can possibly charge the parent the misdemeanor, because though it wasn't a child harming a child, it doesn't matter, I guess, who owns the gun recklessly, because children aren't supposed to have guns anyway. So by them owning that gun and wrecking, it had to be considered, by law, be considered reckless. Of course, the parent is probably sorry and saying that they, tell them why and things like that, that it happened or could have happened. But if you recklessly leave a loaded, unsecured firearm in a way that a child could be hurt, then that is a misdemeanor. So, like I said, that child could have been hurt himself, another child could have been hurt. So they're looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at that as far as the parent goes. I don't know. I think I'm not sure, but that's the only thing since I've been looking at all this. That's the only crime, or that's the only charge, and it's a misdemeanor. And so I don't know, allowing the minor to have access to an unsecured gun could endanger the child themselves. And so, like I said, that's why they're looking at that. Mm-mm. Or they could look at laws of negligence, any type of laws of negligence that they may have as relates to a child. So they have that. They have that misdemeanor charge as far as when it's child on child, and anybody who leaves a gun a loaded, unsecured firearm, or they can look at it from a negligent point of view, parental negligence.
That was the way I was going with it. I was thinking that they would probably hold the parent criminally negligent, just because of them leaving the firearm or available for the young person to get hold of it. Because we sitting in a conundrum right here. Like I said, this is a 6-year-old child, and the laws really truly don't have anything for someone that young. Because generally, when do you see a 6-year-old do something like this? Yeah, turn up his time to time, but it was unheard of for a 6-year-old to do this. Like I said, he just really got in school.
Well, as of right now, I think Virginia only has what Veronica's talking about, allowing access to firearm by children, and the penalty is a class 1 misdemeanor. It shall be unlawful for any person knowingly to authorize a child. Now that's the question. The mother didn't knowingly know that the child had the gun. But anyway, the law reads, it shall be unlawful for any person knowingly to authorize a child under the age of 12 to use a firearm, except when the child is under the supervision of an adult. Any person violating this subsection shall be guilty of a class 1 misdemeanor.
And like lawyers, they use each and every word. The word knowingly. That is what may end up flipping them away from that and going to just criminal negligence towards the child.
So I guess the question is there a law in place that in Virginia that can charge the parent with anything? Val Goodson, thank you for joining in. She said, I believe it should go without question to hold the parent responsible. In instances as simple as truancy or violation of curfew, the parents are held accountable. That is true. That's here in Alabama, and that's what we're trying to differentiate between Alabama law and Virginia law. And we're finding each state has its own laws relating to.
Right, because I don't even know if Alabama has an infancy doctrine. Like the infancy doctrine that they spoke of, I don't know if Alabama has that. And even though the state of Virginia has it, the state itself still hasn't set a minimum age. But their detention centers have a minimum age of 11. So I guess they maybe they allowed the detention centers to set the stage. But in that case, then what are the details of the law? Because if the state doesn't have a set limit, but the detention centers have a minimum age of 11, that's almost like, well, okay, that has to. The detention center really doesn't have to play a part in it, but it kind of leaves things like unclear because the state just does not have a criminal defendant minimum age. They don't have a criminal defendant minimum age, but the facilities have a minimum of 11. So the facilities aren't going to even take them under 11. And that's why this young man is in a health facility right now being evaluated. Because like a detention center will not take him unless I guess they get a special order. Right now they have a special order to detain him in a facility because like juvenile halls and things like that, the minimum age is 11. So they can't take him. Which they don't need him. He needs to be evaluated. He doesn't need to be in a detention center with all those older kids,
Well,
even if they're 11.
what they evaluating though? I mean, what we want to do? Study to see why he shot. You know,
Oh,
he's
they evaluating a lot. The mental illness is real, and so they're evaluating. They're gonna compare him. All they do, statistics and standards and comparisons. They're gonna use all these different statistics and compare with other him to other kids. It's just like with our jobs. If you do something on your job and they take a person to court, what would the person with the least minimum amount of knowledge in their position have done? So they're evaluating kids, and I'm hoping that he doesn't get put on a lot of medicine, but I don't know what's going on with him. So they got to try. It's up to the professionals to try to figure out is his anger normal, or how abnormal is his anger? What could it be caused from or stem from? Or is it just, a lot of times people just don't know. A lot of stuff is hormonal, it's emotional. All of those things affect your rage, your emotions, what you will do, what you won't do, even at the age of 6.
Yeah, I just gonna say,
but he can't, even though all those things affect that, he still can't determine or fully understand the consequences of his actions. You can watch a little 5-year-old, 6-year-old, they can watch like back in the day where we used to watch Gunsmoke, shoot guns and rob, and stuff like that. So he knew what it would do, but did he understand the consequences of what it would do? And like they said, how do you determine that for a 6-year-old? All they can do is go by other information they've been gathered, and there are not a lot of situations like this. But that's all they're going to do. They're going to talk to him. They're going to just see kind of what level is he on, see what level is he functioning on. He's 6 years old. Is he functioning on a 6-year-old level? Is he functioning on, a 2-year-old level? Is he functioning on a 9-year-old level? Because kids are pushed up all the time because of their intellect.
mm-hmm.
But once they determine that stuff, and then I think it's also he's there because they don't have anywhere else to put him, but they have to do something. They can't just let him go back home. From home is where he got the gun. Not right now. I think the family's going to go through this whole program. I don't want to label the program because I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I think they're going to go through this whole program. The family, she may even go through, she bought a gun. Did they do enough evaluation on her? But I think, she purchased it legally. I don't know what Virginia's laws are. Some places they just letting people buy guns. And then other places, when they don't buy the gun, somebody buys it for them. But in this case, it does say that it was purchased legally.
yeah, I foresee that through this whole ordeal, it's going to wind up being some sort of probation that's going to be put on that family. They're going to be watching that family. I mean, do we have any siblings? If that's the case, then DHR going to stay at that house or their residence to make sure that those other kids are in a good spot. So uh, they can look forward to a very long, lengthy process of trying to get back to normal there. Even if they decide not to hold him and he has to do counseling and so forth and so on for however many years, the rest of the family is going to be affected. Is going to be affected by this incident. Like I said, we don't know whether or not there was a father in the house, is it a single mother, if he's the only child. Um, but if he got siblings, I do foresee that being the case.
I was just checking Alabama law. It say children 10 years of age and younger shall not be detained or confined in secure custody unless the children are charged with offenses causing death or serious bodily injury to persons, or offenses that would be classified as Class A felonies if committed by adults. So, in other words, a 6-year-old kick in the front door and rob somebody at gunpoint, burglary in the first degree, then he can be confined. But other than that, you can't be confined.
So it's really hard. Alabama seems to have a little bit more details of theirs, but with Virginia, it says they don't have a minimum. They don't have a minimum, but it's the detention centers. So these states, it just really depends on where you live. Even though we may have a lot of different opinions, it really depends on where you live. And I think this is going to make them maybe revisit their laws and maybe make some additions to their laws.
Mm-hmm.
But I just still would not want to see a 6-year-old in a detention center with, if the minimum age is 10 or 11. That's almost twice the age of a 6. They're still babies. We become adults and seem like the years fly by. And kids act like they can't wait to grow up. But a 6-year-old in the detention center with 10-year-olds, and I don't care what people say, detention centers are not perfect. A lot of times things go on in there, they're going in many jails, many prisons.
Mm-hmm.
It does not need to be with those kids. You don't know what they got going on mentally. And it's so sad because you have to evaluate. They're going to have to evaluate the mother. There may not be a history of anything. So what do? It's the difference if you have a history where they charged me out to this house this many times, this many times, this many times. This goes on here, that goes on there. That kind of stuff. What if it's single parent or not? What if it's just average home? They go, good family.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still going to have to go through a process, but still, like, people are so quick to say, oh, the mother should this, the mother should that. But what if it was truly negligence? And I know negligence is no excuse for the law. But when I say truly negligence, I mean it happened, because it has happened before. The thing that's got us really is the age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. I think a lot of people are just so.
And I think people may be thinking, oh, did she teach him that? And I ain't gonna lie to you, y'all. I taught my kids a lot of things. I'm not gonna lie to you. I taught my kids a lot of things, because sometimes, especially if you're single, you have to work. You know how many latch? That's one thing about Atlanta. I don't know how it is in Tuscaloosa. I see it quite often in Birmingham. There are a lot of latchkey kids. They're 6 or 7 years old using a key to get home in places like that, to get into their off the bus. You know how many things can affect them between the time they get off the bus to the time they get to their door? How much stuff they can see, even at 6. So sometimes people say, oh, he's smart enough, they're smart enough. It's not about if they're smart enough. It's not about if they intended. But do they fully understand the circumstances? Do they fully understand the repercussions? Do they really understand the consequences? Not just for themselves, but for whoever they harm. So it's really, really sad. And I don't want to beat her up, but a lady was shot in her chest. Thank goodness she put her hand up.
Probably protected her from getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
So they really want to know, there's a lot to unfold with this. Did you teach them to use it? There's no law saying that you can't teach your kids to use firearm. Like I said, when you're in your home,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no, like, some kids have to stay home by themselves, and that's a shaky thing, because it could be, it could be an auntie coming over to check, God forbid, somebody coming to check. You need the gun to be in a secure place. But if the kids at home by themselves, how are they going to protect themselves if the gun is in a secure place? But a 6-year-old shouldn't be at home themselves. I mean, I just wouldn't work. If I couldn't find a adequate daycare or something like that, those are just scenarios where I'm thinking, what could a 6-year-old be at home with themselves? Because 6-year-old does not have a need to be around a gun, period. So you don't teach them to protect themselves when they're at home. Even if you teach them to use a gun, a 6-year-old shouldn't be at home by themselves because a 6-year-old shouldn't be near a loaded, unsecured weapon.
Right.
So even if you're teaching them to protect themselves, you can't teach a 6-year-old you can teach them how to use it if you choose, but you can't say, well, I taught him, like the argument is can't be, I taught him to use a gun because he's at home alone. I mean, that could be the argument, but then when you did that, you endangered him. And see, that was what the first part of that law was saying, that they created that law and it was mostly supposed to be kids against kids. But this is, and then he could have been, I don't know, y'all. It's just because the kids get kids. What about the other kids in the classroom? He didn't harm them. He harmed the teacher. So that's why that law is kind of sticky and kind of they're just trying to figure it out. It's like they're trying to figure it out. So imagine us and everybody else trying to figure out. That's not about you. Even if you got a latchkey kid, they go home and it's home by themselves. You can't really leave the gun so that they can say, in case this happens, use this gun because they're 6 years old. You really can't do that with a 12-year-old with a gun.
Right. And then we have the case scenario here in Tuscaloosa again, where capital murder is a charge with 2 Montgomery men bring 2 other people from Montgomery to Tuscaloosa and throw them out on Foster's roads and what's the mindset of a lot of things going on these days?
There are, for you to I think they were charged out of Lowndes County. Um, uh, the only thing I can say is that they felt like, Foster's or Tuscaloosa County was far enough away from where he was and that they might get away with it. But that's 100 some miles. Like, who rides in a car with dead people that long? You know what I'm saying? That something is not right in the head, if you ask me, when you start doing that. I worked at DCH years ago, and I worked in escort, and I had to escort basically what they call escort a dead body or cadaver to the morgue. I didn't want to do it for the every bit of 15 minutes it took us to get that from the emergency room to the morgue. I couldn't get it there fast enough. I didn't want to be around it, so let alone try to drive 100 miles with not one but 2. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That gave me the heebie-jeebies, if you will. Yeah. So like I don't think that people have any. I think everybody pretty much off their inhibitions now. Like they ain't not scared of anything these days.
No, sure ain't, Mike. Sure ain't. Well, we're not getting a lot of conversation, no phone calls. If you'd like to join the conversation, you can call us 310-6067 or 826-7661. Let's get you in contact with us here on the program. I appreciate Val Goodson in her comment. She said, that being the case should make it easier to put the charges on parents. I wonder what he could possibly have been exposed to cause him to act this way, though. Virginia law mandates that he be removed from the home.
When you say what he was exposed to, like I said, on any given channel at any given time, you'll see all kinds of shows that are packed full of violence. with gunfire in it. So it's not like I don't think that you can honestly say that he probably didn't see some of that stuff on TV. The question is, did he really realize the severity of what was going on? I think that a lot of people don't realize that to actually shoot somebody to take a life, that's not a very well. It's not supposed to be an easy thing to do. Generally, if a police officer discharges a firearm in a line of duty and kills someone, they have to go and see somebody. Is that still the case there? I mean, that's what I heard. Um, is that how it goes?
Okay, and repeat the question for just a second.
If they shoot someone in the line of duty, they have to go and see somebody. They have to
Oh
go
yeah,
talk to a psychiatrist or something. Or
right.
yeah, so it's not an easy thing. It ain't like I'm gonna shoot somebody today and then I don't see this. This is why a lot of our soldiers come back from these war torn countries with PTSD because they've seen things that the normal person wouldn't be able to handle.
Right.
You know, so you're not supposed to be able to go to sleep after you've taken a life. That's one of the hardest things it's supposed to be. And once again, I think that a lot of people have gotten to the point now where they think, shoot, hey, it ain't gonna bother me. And I don't think they'll realize that until they actually do it the first time.
Right.
So, when you see it on TV, it's all right. You know what I'm saying? That, oh, I just shot this week I shot 6 people. Next week I shot another 6 people. I'll be back on next week. I'm gonna be fine. I sleep good every night. I have a good time. We laughing and joking and everything after the show going on. You know what I'm saying? This TV show, this is not nothing. This is not real life. So that's what I think. I was wondering if that child understood exactly the consequences behind his actions. And I don't think he did because he's 6 years old. I don't know too many 6-year-olds that would understand something like that.
I think that's the one thing that everybody will agree on is that a 6-year-old did not fully understand. He knew what he did. If you ask him right now what did he do, he knows what he did. He does not understand the consequences of it. And if he says something about harming somebody or worse, he probably knows what that means, but he doesn't fully get it. I just saw an interview with the Prince Harry. He has this books and movies and stuff coming out, and he talked about being, I think he was 11 or 12 when Princess Diana passed away, and he said that when it first happened, they're famous or whatever. He thought, and they had gotten accustomed to living the famous life, but he still thought that his mother was coming back, that she had just, now I guess because of how famous they are, he thought that she was gone. And he said he thought that for years. She passed when he was 11 or 12. He thought it was, she'll be back. Maybe it's just to get away from all of the stuff that was going on. He thought for years that his mother would come back. And he was 11 or 12. I can't remember which one. And he didn't believe it. He said he did not believe it. And he not only when it happened, he didn't believe it for years that she was not coming back. He was twice as old as this little boy. And he believed it for years. So, people, we as human beings, We walk a line. Then it says there's a thin line between love and hate. But we walk a line every day. And my mental health professor told me that between sanity and insanity. Some people's line is broader. Some people's line is really slim. What will take some people to fall onto the sanity side, it may take the next person will fall on to fall on the insanity side. Person's A line may be broad. He may go through a lot before he falls over the line to insanity. Person B's line may be an inch wide or less before they cross insanity. So that goes all into insanity and stuff. So there's a lot that's going to have to be uncovered. I just hate it. I just hate it. I just hate that it happened. I hate it for her because she's the injured person. We still have to remember what is she thinking? She's a teacher. I don't know what she's thinking, but I'm sure she has a passion for kids. But he almost killed her.
Yeah.
So what is she thinking? I would like to know what she's thinking. It's kind of like the thing with the Helen with the injury. I wonder how long it would be before people actually blame the receiver. They were playing football, and most people have been kind, but he did get a little bit of chatter, and Damar's family had to speak out about it. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. It was a clean hit. It's football.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you have to look at both sides. So, like as we talk about, what do you do with this little boy? Like some people say, my baby, because some people still like me. I think you call your kids your baby sometimes, and they're adults, full-grown adults. Some of them got babies, but this is a baby. I look at my kids and think of all the stuff I would have done differently when they were 6. So can we really get up the mom? It's just a lot.
Mike, any final words?
Not on this topic, Daryl. No, it's basically everything that I was saying earlier is what it is. I don't think that I by no means think that she had anything to do with it deliberately. Uh, I'm just concerned that she'll get she just be held negligent, and hopefully it won't even be something that is just a slap on the wrist, maybe. But
It,
what you call a teachable moment?
yeah. I think taking her child away will be is going to be hard enough of a punishment, especially if we're talking long term. 10-year-old, I mean, until you get 12 to 15, 18 years of age, would be hard enough on her, probably punishment enough um, to know that her son was put in this, well, partially responsible that her son was put in this position. And I think she's just, I'm not saying jail time, but I just think there's so much more that we as society can do to put in place to kind of prevent some of these from some of these things from happening than we are doing. Um, like I said, we had a 13-year-old that shot and killed someone.
Mm-hmm.
So not
Yeah,
that
never.
not that the parent of the shooter himself was there and presently to cause it, but there again, are we looking at parents' accountability and responsibility? Because I think someone mentioned about the curfew. So I'm at work, and I use this as an example. If you're at work, you got a 13-year-old, went to the movies, 7 o'clock, decided to hang out with some friends till 11 o'clock, get pulled over by the police, and you're a hard-working mother, and you're at home, you're at work, and your 13-year-old was given permission to go to the movies, which was over at 9:30, but you decided to stay out with your other friends till 11 or 12, and the police pulled you over or say they're walking home. Should the parent be ticketed or charged because of the negligence of a child that was given permission to go to the movies, but didn't make it home by curfew time of 11 o'clock? And she's a hard-working parent, single parent.
Well, I think it comes a time where we say that a lot about parent accountability, but I also just think, and I know this is going to be a state-to-state thing, and maybe there are some federal laws that do apply to children, just like there are federal laws that apply to children when it comes to working. I think there should be federal laws that apply to children, when it comes to crimes. And I'm sure I would think that there are. But it gets to a point where you are supposed to hold parents accountable. And that's one reason when we got in trouble, we got what? Some people you were able to talk to them and they didn't get their parents, parents learn, it's like you have a different kids in your same house. This one may only need talking to. And the one that gets whoopings almost might say, you don't never whoop them. But what do you do? And sometimes as parents, you have to sit them down and say, you do this. You give me a hard time this way. You give me a hard time that way. When I tell Tanya something, she does what I say. Even when she's done something she shouldn't have, whatever I tell her to do to rectify, she does it. You, Lisa, when I tell you something, oh Lord, not la la. When I tell you something, you still rebellious, you still bugging. I end up having to whoop you, spank you, whatever. We used to get whooping back in the day. And some people still do, and they can get away with it. But the parents get away with it. But at some point, that's why I say you should look at the parents in an aspect and the kids, because some kids, some parents just struggle. It's like no matter what they do the whoopings. They stop doing the whoopings. They didn't do the whoopings, so they start doing the whoopings. They try to take away things that don't work. Sometimes they really can't find out what works, especially when they have where they're trying to take care of and maintain a household too, whether it's single or both. Sometimes you got the way things have been and the way things are now, especially it takes two incomes, even though there's not usually just a lot of times there's only one. It takes two incomes. I don't know a couple that's a working class couple right here in Tuscaloosa that can say everything just great financially. Everything may be comfortable, everything may be okay. But with the way things are now and with the price of things, the cost of things, even programs, like we talked about this conversation, y'all, probably a year ago. After school programs, where can they go? Because they're going to charge an arm and a leg usually for everything. And then think money is needed. But then you go back into our governmental part of it. You got to allocate money for this, that, and the other. Why not allocate money for these programs? For some after school programs, for stuff on the west side. So when do you, certain things you maybe can hold the parents accountable for, but sometimes you got to look at, you don't want to make a parent feel like they're being punished for trying to work, or not being there like they maybe should. Because if you're not in there as much as you want to be, you're probably not teaching as much as you want to be. And it's not always the village like it used to be. So at some age, kids, even us, even if it was just from TV, even though we see some wrong stuff on TV, like I said, the cops and robbers on TV, we see some kind of decent stuff. We don't really, a lot of stuff isn't decent on TV, but we still find some kind of stuff between right and wrong. Sometimes kids, it's just an innate feeling. I just think that God gives us all, like say for instance, you have a pedophile and they touch a child, even though the child has never ever been touched before. I think they feel uncomfortable. They think it's wrong or it's not right until it happens so much till they think it's right. So it's just, I think under a certain age, kids just have to be, it just has to be looked at as like, okay, Some things we can blame parents for. Other things we can't really punish them for, but we gotta help them. That's what I'm trying to say. You gotta help them.
Okay.
Because parents can't be all the time, 100% of the time, anytime, every time, even though they're parents. We're supposed to be parents, we're supposed to be nurses, we're supposed to be doctors to our children, teachers to our children, lawyers to our children, confidants to our children. That one thing that we've always talked about, quit trying to be their friends. To a degree, you can be friendly with them because you want them to be open to you, but you can be friendly without being their friend because you're not their peer. So I even kind of look at that differently a little bit now. You can be their friend. You want to be their best friend, but you have to realize that you're not their peer. You don't do the things that they do. You don't have to do the things that they do, but you can still be a friend. How many of us have that old person that when we was like in our 20s or 30s and we sat on the porch and talked to them, they were like maybe 60, 70 years old. They were parental age. They weren't our peer, but they were still our friend. You couldn't tell me Mr. Leroy or someone your friend. He looked out for all the kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And if he was on the up and up. So I think it's okay, to be friends with your children, but without crossing the line and thinking that you can do everything that their peers would do with them. Because I'm just thinking, like, with this little boy being 6, what was the next thing we went to? Or the first thing we thought? Parent accountability. And there was some negligence. We know, I'm not downplaying that, but sometimes, like, do they need help? We got to figure out what were all the circumstances. Single mom. I'm not surprised she has a gun. Single mom.
Right. Well, I'm surprised we didn't have more people that join in on our conversation, but we appreciate the ones that did and the ones that are listening and didn't get opportunity to check us out or didn't have the time to call in and give your opinion. It's an opinionated show, so it's no wrong or right answer. We just want people to interact and communicate with us, and let's come up with solutions. That's what this program is mainly about. Since I didn't get a chance to do my prayer before the program started, we're going to do one on the closing of the show tonight. And those of you that would just join in with us as we say a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this show tonight. We just want to pray for the young people right now. We want to pray for the parents and the child that made the ultimate decision, Heavenly Father, to pull the trigger. We're praying that you'll find ways to touch his heart and his mind and correct his future, Heavenly Father. We're praying for all the families and we're praying for the victim of this crime right now. Heavenly Father, we're praying for all the bereavement families here, there, and far. We're praying for all our essential workers, all our law enforcement and military personnel, all our government officials, and all our pastors, teachers, children, families, and friends. We're asking that you continue to watch over them. We're praying for all our elderly that's in the nursing home and all the staff that's watching over them. Heavenly Father, we give you all the praise. We give you all the glory. We thank you for your mercy, Heavenly Father. In your Son, Jesus Christ's name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, y'all might.
And I think, Val was in the conversation. So when we have people like that, people who are looking for solutions to things that go on in the community. So sometimes it's just about who sees it. Like I said, there are a lot of people we'll see it later, but then like Val was here, and Val is somebody who's definitely a part of the community and looking, that looks to, she works in the community, our community, the Greene County community. So sometimes when we're actually on, it's really, really great to see, even if it's just 2 or 3 people, who they are.
Right.
So, Mr. Eatman joins, Val joins, Lala joins. And that way the message that's happening here does get out.
Great conversations always, y'all. Regardless if it's just us 3 or 3,000. I just appreciate the people and the opportunity to, just share common conversation, common knowledge, common ideas, solutions for whatever going on in our communities. Not just here in Tuscaloosa, but throughout the whole state and the country.
Right.
On Thursday, Daryl, we go ahead on and had that conversation about the question you posted earlier about what would you do if you won the Mega Millions jackpot. I really am interested. and knowing what I saw a lot of people put on there some a few things. Yeah, that's interesting. I would think that I'm interested in knowing what other people think. So I think we can have that conversation on Thursday.
Right.
By that time, it may be a little higher than that, or somebody might have gotten it.
Well, Mike,
Um,
if I ain't won it tonight, it's gonna probably go up a little bit higher. So, you know,
That's what I
640.
was supposed to have they done it tonight?
Yeah, it's
it's
Have they
tonight.
tonight.
done it?
Yeah,
That's tonight.
the drawing is tonight. And if you cash in, it'll be a $648.2 million cash out.
What?
$648.2 million cash out. I own my own radio stations and TV station, y'all. We all have your own little platforms, radio stations, everything going on at that point.
I already got my own radio station there.
We're gonna hit the airwaves. We're gonna hit the airwaves.
Right.
FM WDMC. Everyday R&B classics and old school Southern Soul station right here in
All right.
Tuscaloosa.
All right.
Well, yeah, Mike. Mike, let me ask you this before we go. You still do your DJ thing on Saturday nights?
Saturday night, I'm actually in looking for a DJ to do that, but I haven't been doing it because I don't have a DJ to do it. It's
Well,
getting kind of hard. Most DJs have gigs on Saturday nights these days.
well, Mike, I'm coming out of retirement, man. I got I'm coming out of retirement. I'm getting
Daryl, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me pull out another hat.
yeah,
Pull the
yeah.
hat. I forgot. But you know what? That has already been out. So we're going to
Hmm.
dust it off then.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and dust that head off, and I'm coming full strength. Wedding and old school parties, things of that nature. No, R&B and old school classics, up to date party, R&B sounds. That's the kind of DJ I am. I don't play a lot of the rap stuff. So if you're looking for somebody to play good music, jazz, southern soul, and good R&B, you call on MC50. That's what my boys called me back in the day when I was trying to get started. So I'm back out and ready, full speed.
I tell you what, Daryl, man, we're gonna talk about it. We can make that happen though, really. For new Saturday Night Heat with DJ 50
Mm-hmm.
on the Unde Fuzz.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We can get it going. I'll tell you what, we'll talk about it and get it worked up
Okay.
so everybody can see you do your thing.
Hear me do my thing. They ain't got to see me.
Yeah,
They gonna hear me.
they can see it. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
you know how we do it. All right. Yeah, that's what I got going. That's what I have right now. Y'all please, if y'all have it, y'all know any kids that might be interested, 13 to 15 years old that might be interested in the basketball camp, make sure that y'all get them signed up. I think that Coach Eaton is going to be talking to some of the schools here this week. So that y'all, they're gonna sign them up at the schools also, but there's also a link on Facebook if you want to get signed up. So I'll go ahead and do that, and we get this thing started for these young people so they can go out there and play some basketball, and then by the time that camp is over, well, you can get back into baseball and softball, and we have something for these kids to do year round.
Okay. What is it, y'all, for tonight? We appreciate everyone that chimed in and check us out each and every week. We'll be back on Thursday, and I'm wishing those that got tickets. I'm wishing you luck, but I want to win the 1.1 billion. But I'm wishing y'all luck to win. Some might have 5 numbers, some might have 3 numbers, but I'm concentrating on having all the numbers and becoming this 648.2
I tell you what,
million.
there I would like for it to like go up a little bit more so that I can get my ticket, and then what I'm saying, we can go ahead on and split that
Oh,
1.8 billion or whatever it's gonna be after that.
oh, okay.
That's how we're gonna do whatever it take to get hold of that. But yeah, I gotta get me a ticket.
Okay.
This is you can't win unless you play.
That's true. That's true. Hey, that's it for tonight. We appreciate everybody that chimed in, and we'll see you on Thursday night.
Okay,
Good night, y'all.
All right.